4:01 p.m. Call the meeting to order. Take attendance. We've got, I think everybody, right? Steve, Wendy, Carl, and like to welcome Cindy, our new board member, who came on to replace our vacancy. And of course, Breck is here. And of course, Joe is here to make sure everything goes hunky-dory. And we have our new consultant, yes?
Correct.
Yes.
Donna, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Hi, Donna. Nice to meet you. I'm Chris.
Hi, Chris. Nice to meet all of you too.
Oh, we gotta look at the.
Looking forward to working with you all.
Yeah, it should be a good
Likewise.
experience.
Looking
So
forward to it.
seems like you come with a wealth of information.
I
Mr.
hope
Chair,
so.
would you like to do individual introductions with them and talk a little bit about each person's role in the community?
Sure, if that's helpful.
I think it would.
Yeah, why don't we start with Steve on the end, work our way across.
Okay, Steve Hewins. So I've been living in Rangeley for about a year and a half now, 2 years. And built a house in the Overlook development, right off of Route 4 on the way into town. And so spent a lot of years in Portland, we were talking about prior to this. I guess I'm just happy to be on the committee. I sit on about 6 nonprofit boards right now, including the Maine Historical Society, the Maine Economic Growth Council, the Hospitality and Tourism at USM. I'm a Board of Visitors Vice Chair of Humane Farmington. So I have a lot of sort of tentacles out there, and I'm hopeful that I'll learn a lot about Rangeley while I've been coming here for 40 years too, vacationing here, so I do know the place that way. So that's me, Steve Hewins.
Great, thank you.
Hi, Donna. Wendy Case
Hi,
here.
Wendy.
We know each other. Donna was the planner in Freeport, and I was the chair of the planning board for a number of years. But I moved to Rangeley in 2020, and I'm on the Board of Selectmen, as well as Friends of Quimby Pond, this committee, and volunteer at the theater. And, you know, relatively new to the community, but super excited about working on the comp plan, because this is the visionary work, as you know, is something that I really enjoy. And I can't wait to work with you again.
Likewise.
Hi, Donna, Chris Farmer. I moved to Rangeley in 2008 to work for Saddleback Ski Resort. Was general manager there from 2010 until we turned the baton over to Arcturus in 2020. Also a lawyer, been a member of the Maine Bar since 1999, commercial real estate broker since 2000. I work as also I'm the finance chair for the school board. Been on that board off and on for the past 15 years. I serve on several nonprofits, officially and unofficially of council for a few more. And I currently work as the regional vice president for commercial lending manager for Skowhegan Savings.
Okay, great.
That's it?
Oh, ski patrol with Carl. I got that. Sorry.
Yeah, you ski patrol, that's settlement.
Yeah, here we go.
Hello, Donna, my name is Carl Coles. I moved to Rangeley full-time 2020, been visiting for 15 years. Moved up to be closer to my wife's family. I have a full-time job for a consulting engineering firm out of South Portland. I work part-time for the town as the deputy CEO. Been doing that for about 2.5 years. Part of this board here, have 4 kids involved in the school district, and ski patrol with Chris.
Thank you.
I guess I'm the last one. Cindy Egan. I have lived here in Rangeley since 2001, raised 2 daughters here. I've been on just about every nonprofit board in town, and for the town budget committee, board of selectmen. Now this new committee, I run a law firm in town, and that's it in a nutshell.
Thank you. I guess I should tell you a little something about me. I have been going to Rangeley. I live in South Portland. I have been a planner for over 30 years. As Wendy said, a big chunk of that was in Freeport. I have been out on my own now since 2020. And I do a combination of working with communities like Rangeley. I also work with Rockland, as well as permitting for, helping folks get through the permitting process that they need to get through so that they can get their business or organization started. So that combination of doing the planning as well as the permitting puts me in the position of having to live with the rules that get written. And so it's changed the way I look at ordinances in a way that I think is for the better. But I have been going to Rangeley. I've been going to Rangeley probably for 60 years, and have love it up there. My whole family, my extended family goes up there every year. As a young adult, I lived in Farmington for, I don't know, 8 or 10 years, and lived in the surrounding areas in Farmington. So I have a really strong connection to Rangeley, and that's the reason why, why I was so interested in doing this particular project, because I know the geography, I know the roads, I know where things are. I've climbed a lot of the mountains. What I don't know is I don't know the people. And so I'm really looking forward to getting to know you and getting to know the people of Rangeley, and to really dig in with your issues and look for some good solutions to whatever you're facing. So that's kind of it in a nutshell.
Any relation to any of the Canes up this way, Gavin Kane and Tim Kane?
I don't, they're a pretty big clan.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, I'm not aware of any of them that have made it this far north.
Gotcha. Great. Well, as you can see, nobody here was born and raised that's on this group. I'm only tied, my stepdad was a Grant, so he grew up here, and so that's about my only tie in that part. And even though I've been coming up here since I was 5 years old, I'm still from away. So.
Of course.
But so there may be, I think during our process here, there might be some people may be concerned that the people from away are making the decisions on the comp plan, but I believe there's a good bones that are here, of what's been done, and that where we're gonna go with this and the structure we provide is, we have, I think, a really good board, and I think a lot of the public has a lot of trust and faith in the board that's here, that they feel that if there are concerns, they're gonna be brought forward and discussed and addressed. I don't think, if you ask anybody on the street or the 5 people on this board, if they think they have an opinion that they don't think it's gonna get heard, I don't think that will be the case. So where would you like to go next, Donna, so we can be efficient with your time?
Well, what I was thinking is, I know that you folks have been doing some work, and you've been doing some work over several months, years. And I was thinking that maybe the most efficient thing to do would be, Chris, maybe you and I could set up a Zoom meeting and just talk about, what you've been doing, where you're at, or we could do that now. But, I thought maybe a one-on-one would be a good thing, and maybe get me some documents so that I could take a look at it and see where you are.
Well, I think, I'm not sure where you're told, this committee really, even though I've been appointed to this committee for 2 years, I think, but it really didn't kick off until September. I would
Okay.
say. Wasn't that our first meeting?
Yes,
Yeah.
it was.
Yeah, because it was still golf season, I remember we had to work it. Steve started, so we really only had 3 or 4 meetings, but what we tried to do is we focused mostly on trying to get an updated inventory analysis in the sense that we have this great spreadsheet of all these things that need to be done, that were in the comp plan, and we're basically going through that process now, kind of split groups up to determine whatever item it was, has it been worked on in, what did we determine, it's been 11 years, has it? Yeah, almost 12 years. Has anyone touched it in 12 years? Yes or no? And if they haven't touched it in 12 years, in your opinion, should they have? Or should it just be set aside because it's obviously not important or germane to the general cause of what we're trying to accomplish? And that's kind of what the filter that we've been trying to go through all those pieces. We've also tried to identify stakeholders and those who would be kind of the watchdogs of those type of issues, but also the ones that have the greatest impact if things were to change. So that's, I think that's kind of a rough summary of what we've been trying to figure out.
We also talked a lot about, is it missing anything?
Right.
That's
Yep.
what's changed in the 11 years, and is there holes, and that's kind of where we got into this survey, right? Let's
Right.
try to get the, you know, the pulse of the community, or the things out there this plan needs to have in it. And then we also discussed, is this kind of a, you know, are we just tweaking what we have? Is it a complete revamp? And I think we've all agreed it's kind of a edit what we have, add in what we need.
Yeah,
Move forward.
we want to produce some we're calling this comp plan for lack of a better phrase. It's kind of the first edition. And so this is going to be a second edition, but you know, it might have additional pieces and then adjusting the forward and those type of things so that people can easily understand what's new, what's not, those type of things. For instance, we've had, I would say in the 15 years I've been here, we've had 2 hot button issues. One was allowing marijuana to be sold in town, which that was discussed twice. It was shot down and then citizen petition brought back. Good technique going to the dump,
Right.
sending a pretty girl to the dump, good technique, it worked well.
Yeah.
And then the other issue we've talked about is the short-term rentals / housing, that type of thing. And our quick peruse of the current comp plan, neither one of these things are actively covered. And, you know, I mean, nobody knew 11 years ago that marijuana would even be legal, let alone be in some communities in every corner. My son counted from the Turnpike to Rangeley, there's 23 stores, I think, currently operating.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Or if you go through.
I didn't ask him how he conducted that survey, but he did provide me that data. Yeah, nevertheless, so kind of what we talked about too is about what can we do to be, because lack of a plan, one miraculously forms itself. And its own narrative forms itself. And I feel those 2 issues were very hard on the Board of Selectmen, the staff, everybody, the community members on how to process both of those things. We had a lot of, not as much with the marijuana division, that one was pretty handily defeated 2-1, but the short-term rental issue was very hot topic. And I think it's important for us to figure out with the comp plan, okay, these 2 issues popped up, they were handled. Is there anything we should have in the comp plan to provide better guidance? And what else do we see happening in the forefront in the next 5 to 10 years that could come into play? We've had a major upgrade of our facilities here. One is the, Saddleback has been renovated. They put as much money in as the previous owner, if not more at this point. They built workforce housing to sleep 80 people up there. They're doing a solar grid. Somebody else is doing a solar grid in town. This came up for a question and issue around that. We also had the fiber optic broadband, which is now essentially available in every home, which has changed. When I moved here 15 years ago, I broadcasted DSL from the movie theater to the top of the mountain back to the base lodge so we could run credit cards. So now it's, at my house, I have 900 megabytes up and 900 megabytes down. So it's really gone completely different there, which has allowed our base to change where people, one, retiring early or switching to remote, and that type of thing. We've had a big change in our community. You ask the locals, or those of us that are semi-local, being here 15 years, Cindy being here 22 years, you walk in the IGA now, middle of the week, and there's quite a few faces you don't recognize. And the community's noticed that. So I think,
Well, that action was also consistent with the comprehensive plan.
yeah,
So, that was hand in hand with our, with the current comprehensive plan and what, what the desired outcomes were from it, so.
and it's,
What are you referring to? I'm not sure.
the broadband,
The broadband.
Oh,
yes.
broadband.
the broadband was brought in, and it did exactly what the comp plan thought it would do, which is provide more housing. We went from an 08, when there was little, the average person would come and stay 1 or 2 days. We're now seeing people consistently stay 5 days a week. Longer short-term rentals. The short-term rental market is now 300 plus units versus probably 40 or 50 of what it was 15 years ago. So, I mean, all of these things are coming into play. So as far as what you were asking, that's kind of, if anyone else wants to
Well,
chime
one
in
thing,
on any
one
other
thing
issues.
I don't think anybody's mentioned, that was one of the first things that I saw that was lacking in the current plan, is there's no section on health and wellness. Particularly as people are getting older in this town, it's an hour to the hospital. We talked about the lack of a pharmacy. There was once one here, there is not now. So, it's as the population here ages, people retire here, having access to healthcare needs to be in the plan. How it manifests itself, not sure, but it should be
I
addressed.
didn't want to steal your thunder, Steve, I beat you.
Oh, yeah, thank you for
Well, I think we
that.
have to remember, the plan's gonna have its limitations. I think that's been a long-term discussion. The IGA did have a pharmacy, the owner tried to make it work and it financially wasn't feasible.
Yeah, well, the point is not the past, the point is the next 10 years.
Yeah.
What is this community gonna need?
So I think, and that certainly in the past has been expressed as a need, but it's like, let's not set ourselves up for failure, yeah, it's a need, is the comprehensive plan the right venue for that? Or is this something that is a part of another group's plan? It's not just, we're talking about Rangeley, and yeah, we have some impact on the greater region, but we're not the be all, the end all.
Well, I'm talking Rangeley as a community, the whole argument or the whole discussion about the regionality, I think that is in the plan, discussion of that. What is the future of the surrounding plantations, et cetera, as it relates to Rangeley. But I was really referring to, I've written strategic plans, which are a lot like comp plans for the community, for the public aspect of it. And basically much of it is aspirational and visionary about,
Right.
set the bar, you don't set the bar low.
Right.
You set the bar high with the idea that you try to achieve things that are gonna move the community forward. That's pretty much what.
You're welcome to come in.
No, I'll wait for the next meeting.
Oh, okay. All right,
So anyhow, that's
I'd like to
yeah,
add
go
something.
ahead, Wendy.
Donna, one of the things I think would be beneficial to put in your wheelhouse here for striking the plan going forward is, I think the bones of the comp plan for Rangeley are very good, and we have reached out to get updated data points, which that will make some of those sections move along very quickly. But the phraseology in the plan, I'd love to see us try to make it so that it's not directives, so that you have an actionable step that is destined for a few committees, but the work should be done within those committees versus shall. So it should be, we should be like say commercial solar farms, which we have a moratorium right now on those. That should, you know, that type of renewable energy in the next 10 years possibly could be, you know, something that we might want to consider thinking about in the plan, but it shouldn't be shall or should. It should be the committees should contemplate or consider, so that they would do the work, and the product would come from that activity whenever it was allocated to that committee from the Board of Selectmen, because it could be year 1, it could be year 10. I mean, and things change within those 10 years. So wherever we are on that date, you know, that timeline, the consideration in terms of terminology, I'd like to see that versus the commanding language.
Yeah, I think the comp plan doesn't solve every problem. It really, the comp plan only says this is where we want to go, and this is how we think we might get there. And, you know, things change.
Right.
And, you know, the population changes, and, you know, one thing with comp plans and why you want to have things listed in them is sometimes there's money available. And if you've got, you know, say something for rural healthcare, if there's some funding that becomes available for rural healthcare, you want to make sure that it's mentioned in your comp plan, because, you know, it will make a difference. So, okay.
And I think that's where we're hoping you can help us with the lifting on that. Because none of us, I mean, Steve's done some strategic planning, I know some.
I have to.
And yeah, and the biggest thing is about, you know, I mean, the grant stuff, I don't know how much extensive grant writing people have done, I've done a few, but I think that's maybe where I think you can also help us figuring out. My philosophy personally with this is I want to keep it simple, because I feel like the comp plan to me is the backbone. It's not the flesh and body of what's going to end up being the piece. The ordinances and the committees and that will flesh that out, but we need to provide just a strong backbone that's a general guide to follow with that. And to be frank, it took 11 years before they sat down to revamp it again, despite I know Cindy's pushed for it and others have pushed for trying to do something sooner. It just hasn't happened. That if we don't get to this for another 9 or 10 years, I want to feel like it's there. We might have the intention in 5 years to go back and redo it again, but in reality, it may just not happen. So I think it's important that we try to do something that's going to withstand time to a certain degree. So I don't know if that gives you enough background on what we're kind of thinking.
Yeah, no, that gives me a lot of good information. I mean, I think one of the first things, there's some behind the scenes stuff that I need to do, like talk with AvCog and find out when we can start getting some new data in and how long that will take. But the other thing is, I think it's time to be talking about what that first public meeting is going to look like, because that's going to help drive, you know, you need to know what the rest of the community is thinking too. And
it'll be interesting to see if people show up.
Well, you know, that's gonna, you know, it's always tricky. Now, this is where I need your local knowledge. Is we're coming into winter. Once we get over Christmas, is that a good time to hold a public meeting? And we did talk about holding the same meeting in 2 different formats. One to do one locally in Rangeley, but the other same format, same questions, same topics, but to do it via Zoom and invite the folks from out of town to participate also.
I think if we did one that isn't Zoom tied at the school, we've had good meetings there. That's a good venue. There's a good PA there. It's a good setup. And that one would be like, look, that's an in-person one. I don't want to do a hybrid. I don't think those are effective. And then do a Zoom only one where everybody, we could do it, I guess, in this room for this format, because it does seem to work okay. To do that, so that way everyone feels like they get a piece. I think January and February are not a bad time, because
Okay.
as long as it's not the third week in February, I think,
School
Right.
vacation.
Right.
well, school vacation, and it's just the busiest week
Right.
for the resort and the town. So I think if we looked at, the second or third week in January to do a live one, I think we do pretty well with that.
Right. And all the
All right,
families
so-
here, their kids are at school,
Cindy, you got some?
Yeah, so, couple of comments. I've participated recently in hybrid brainstorming meetings of this sort, a number of them. They can work. I think it depends on the setting, and how the setup goes. It may not be ideal. It might be worth a shot though, Chris. Donna, I didn't know, in our last, in this current version of the comprehensive plan, it talks about that they had 13 listening sessions with the community. What do you think about that? Do you think that's too much? Do you think that's what we should shoot for? With this review? Just curious about that.
Well, I think that there's a variety of meetings that need to happen. I think that we have the general meeting, and, kick off, tell people, explain to them, try to get as many people as we can, explain to them what's being done, why we're doing it, and have some broad topic areas where you folks would be leading conversations with members of the community. And also it would have this, we use all polling, which is something that you can do some survey work with folks. They all pull, you have a portion of the meeting where everybody pulls out their phone and you collect some data that way. And you do that to bring people together and try to figure out what your big topic areas, what are the big concerns, what are the common themes, those types of things. But then I think you also need to delve into looking at certain specific topic areas. Like, let's talk about tourism. So I think that I would like to see a meeting with the various stakeholders in tourism and pose some questions to them, because it affects them directly. And there are other topic areas too where we can do similar type things. When you look at the various organizations that are in town, I think there needs to be some individual meetings with those folks also, because they're gonna add a lot of flavor to the conversation. It's gonna be targeted, but there needs to be an outreach, like I would also like to see meetings of just business owners and find out what the business community is doing. And so I think that what you're saying is that those meetings, those 13 meetings that were talked about, I think they're also extremely important.
Well, one thing, back then, there was no such thing as Zoom anyhow, so
Right.
you had to have lots of meetings to get everybody together. Now you can collate them through a Zoom type meeting, one or two. I do like your idea about having listening sessions, meeting sessions among, groups with vested interests.
Right.
We just got several, so rather than an open-ended kind of free-for-all, you've targeted, and then people can really speak to their specific issues.
Right.
It's a good idea.
So would it make sense to do a general one first and then several smaller targeted ones?
That would be my recommendation, is to
Yeah,
go
and
out
we
to the general public first.
And we could do, if the group would prefer a hybrid one versus doing two separate. The upstairs where the school board meets, their technology is really good there, and they have a much bigger, clearer screen. And they have a whole new setup, and if we worked with the school and Sean Russell on that. The meeting where the school board meets, you can fit 75, 100 people in there comfortably. And it's less echoey than the gym, and we could then do if it's a true hybrid, I'd be surprised we get more than 75 physical people to show up. A lot of people, I think, would
You
choose
know,
the
Chris,
hybrid.
well, I agree with Cindy's point about the hybrid idea could work. The only thing I was saying is like, if you had two meetings, people that couldn't make the first one would have a second option to
Right.
be at the big
Yeah, well,
meeting.
we could do,
That's why I was. saying,
yeah,
so
that's
we both
fine, we
hybrid.
could do two, that way, or,
Yeah. Either way.
we could do two initials.
I just think, Chris, some people aren't as comfortable as, as you all are speaking publicly in person. So I think that's where kind of Zoom, allows them that little bit of, comfort level, just an observation. So-
No, I don't think you're wrong there, Cindy.
And we'll be doing the polling too, which helps the quiet people in the room
Right.
that we've talked about before. And we also are planning on doing a survey as well, that would be embedded on the town's website, which, we probably want you to eyeball what we have here so far too. But, and I think, flushing out those voices from all of the little nooks and crannies and corners is really important, because everybody has an opinion, but it's awful if you don't have the ability to speak with ease,
And we should have, and Joe, maybe you can arrange that, we should have an email through the town's website that people can send their commentary, because there's a lot of people I know who are very, very smart, very intelligent people that would prefer to sit down and do a nicely crafted letter and submit that way. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, and I think we get some good data. I know when we were dealing with the short-term rental, I read through, I don't know, 180 letters, or something like that. And quite a few people took a lot of time into, some people didn't, but quite a few people sat and did a nicely crafted letter and explained their pros and cons. And I've seen several letters come in for correspondence that people sometimes find that's the least, like what Cindy was saying, not everybody's like me and get up and ramble on in a public meeting without any hesitation.
It's a
But-
blessing there, Chris.
Yeah.
Well,
So could we, what, do you think that's pushing it? I mean, we are 7 weeks out to get the polling software together. Do you have that already, Diane?
I have
Right.
someone that I'm working with who would handle that piece of it,
Okay,
who's younger. And-
yeah. Technologically enhanced.
Yeah, exactly. And so she is well versed in using Poll Everywhere, and is a municipal employee and understands this stuff. So she is going to be helping me with that stuff, as well as other things like the Zoom meetings and doing breakout rooms and stuff, because you really do need to have more than one person doing that kind of stuff and scribing and things. So yeah, I would, we are already ready to be taking that kind of stuff on. I think what we could do in that respect, if someone could find out what dates the school would be available. I'm assuming we're thinking a Saturday morning meeting, but is that a safe assumption?
No, it's not a good,
That's not a good one? Okay,
That's not a good time in this community.
Ski.
Okay.
We're a weekend tourism-based business. Saturday is Monday morning for a lot of us.
okay, okay,
So, probably, school board meets on Tuesday nights. So we've in the past done, and planning board meets Wednesdays, Mondays there. I would look at, to be frank, I would look at the 5th Tuesday or Wednesday in January, which would be the 30th to the 31st. Because most of our meetings run on a week 1 and week 3 and week 2 and week
Yeah.
4. So
Yeah,
that would free everybody up. And if it's the middle of the week, I think it would work well. I would suggest a 6 or 7 o'clock meeting. And that we also line up maybe the gym or something with a couple people, so there is childcare or something for people with younger families to come, that there's activities for those kids to do so they can participate. And I think we planned ahead far enough, we might be able to do, I don't know the basketball schedules, but Tuesday night
Okay,
is
so-
usually a game, so I'd say probably Wednesday the 31st, right?
Wednesday, the 31st, yeah.
Former coach Egan, would you agree
Yeah.
Tuesdays are games?
Tuesdays are games, it's also Ski Tuesday, so once they get home, they're gonna be
Right.
planted.
Yeah, so maybe Wednesday, does anyone disagree with that, January 31st? And then my thought was, since we've got almost 2 months, that maybe the survey that Carl and Wendy have put quite a bit of time into, we get that to Don and get it reviewed and get that up. And that may give us some fodder to use for that meeting based on what we get for feedback.
Are we seeing, are you thinking a charrette type meeting, Donna, with, possibly the people on this board manning a table that represents a category and, you know, having some questions that people are gonna answer and use like Post-it notes or whiteboard or something like that?
yeah, that's what I would see, is that we would have a general meeting and then break out into groups where you can talk about certain topics. I'm off the top of my head, I would think we'd want to talk about demographic change in housing, tourism, which is a pretty broad category of recreation and economic development, probably public facilities and services, which is where the whole healthcare and, you know, it's not just the water lines and sewer lines, but healthcare and all of those other types of things. And maybe have a section on climate also, which will be a new chapter that's required by the state, and talk about the growth in rural areas. But what I would like to do is, for our next meeting, if you folks, if someone could take on the logistics of finding a location and seeing if it's available and securing it and those types of things, that would be very helpful. And I will come up with a meeting outline that will include for you to consider. And we can talk about it at the next meeting, see if, you know, what kind of changes you want. But I will pose questions that I think we should be, topic areas, questions, do a timeline, because, you know, we really don't want it to go over 3 hours. I don't think we lose folks, and have that all for your next meeting.
Sounds good.
Does
I'm
that work
sending a
for you?
message to the IT and superintendent and find out if that date's available.
so that's your task.
Yes.
Wow.
Good job, Chris.
I have a question about, and Donna may not know the answer to this, but how would we handle the breakouts with Zoom?
You can break out and Zoom. The problem is gonna be is that you're not, if you do like a tourism breakout in person.
Right.
You're gonna have to do a separate tourism breakout on Zoom that's not gonna be necessarily connected to the tourism breakout.
That was my question.
Yeah, and you're gonna need one staff person per breakout to kind of be a scribe or participate, so that part may be. a
I'm not saying it's
challenge.
impossible, I'm just
I-
curious.
yeah, I mean,
Curious
that-
it happens.
And that's probably a question for Donna's tech person.
You'd have to have as many cameras as you had breakouts.
Right.
or computer.
You
know.
can do it. I've had Zooms where they had breakouts.
Well, if we had enough
But they had
laptops and
cameras.
whatever that we, yeah, I mean,
And I bet you
I-
we could get enough volunteers too, just in the community that would help that meeting move along, you know?
yeah, we gotta do some thinking on that, but, I mean, I'm not.
You know what, I think for the first meeting, the simpler the better, so you get people participating. If it's too complex and too monotonous, you're just gonna end up with some frustration. That's just my thought.
Zooms are funny, because if you have more than like 20 or 30 people on a Zoom, it's like, you're not gonna see anybody's little faces.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's,
I mean,
Right.
Yeah, that's why I'm almost wondering if this meeting on the 31st is more the kickoff,
kickoff.
and then we go by the topics, the charrettes after the fact there, but maybe this one kind of more of, we've got the survey, we've got some feedback. Let's take that at the general kickoff meeting and see if others got additional stuff or collaborate with
No,
that.
that's a great idea, Chris, because the second group of meetings could be the breakouts, sort of like.
Right, and we can say, okay,
smaller-
tourism one will be on February 7th.
Right,
Mhm.
right.
And then that way, whatever's on
Big one.
Zoom in there, we can do it. Then we can probably do the breakouts back in this room.
So maybe having like 4 different Zoom meetings afterwards that talk about a specific topic area
Yeah, I
and
feel
make
like,
them shorter.
I don't know, in my opinion, I think this survey is gonna give us some,
Baseline. stuff.
it's gonna give us a compass reading of where we
Yeah,
need to
surveys
go.
are generally not well,
The
attended.
response,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right,
I
but at
mean-
least we also know what we want to try to discuss, is to
Right.
see if the survey brings us something we weren't thinking.
Mhm.
And then I think the general one, we plan a very basic agenda that just kind of explains
What it is.
what a comp plan is,
Mhm.
how this process is gonna work, the general timeline that we're hoping to accomplish. And explain what these other pieces are, because if we can get a large amount of people to participate in that, then they'll go, oh, well, I'm not really interested in the tourism one, but the housing one.
Right.
And I think we should have that schedule all set for that night, so we
Yeah.
can say,
Yeah.
these will be the next 4, so that people, the most people that are at that event are like, okay, I'm writing that down, that's
Mhm.
February 7th, I
And
definitely
people-
wanna
people
be
may
at that.
talk, you know.
But you
Yeah.
might wanna give someone an opportunity to weigh in during that meeting on those categories as well, because maybe they just don't wanna deal with going to meeting after meeting. While you have them there, it's like, it's like the
You
capture,
could always
you know?
do this general meeting with a Zoom component and then stop the general meeting and people can discuss,
Right,
in the room, saying without.
Yeah, I mean,
having to do that.
To me, the first hour, 45 minutes should be a little bit of education of the process.
Right.
How it's gonna work, how Donna's involved in her team, and
What a
how we're
comp plan
involved
is.
in our
And
team.
Why do you do it?
Yeah, and then, I'm not saying, we can, like she said, we can do a 3-hour meeting. I think
think
that's
2
gonna
hours is
terrify
max.
people.
Yes.
2 is probably
2 hours.
max.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
2 hours
Schedule
is
it,
the
so
max.
people know that there's an
That's
end, yes,
Yeah.
and they can plan accordingly. 3 is way too long.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
And
agree.
then what I've always done with those type of things, if you say it's 6 to 8, and things are still going full street, we'll just say, okay, we've reached 8 o'clock. That's what we promised that would be done. Those who wish to continue discussion, we can go a little bit longer. We leave ourselves that window.
Yeah,
I've
that's,
done that before and it works well. That way people don't feel chained to their seat. We'll just say, we're gonna take a 5-minute recess and then keep going. If for those who wanna stick around with the additional input. I look at it as, we're gonna get a lot of raw information at that.
Mhm.
And that I think then our job would be is to then take that information and figure out our next tooled sessions. Trying to pull some of the pieces of that,
Mhm.
and then also like, what were we missing? What didn't we hear?
Mhm.
Because to me, it's gonna be as much about what did we hear as what we didn't hear.
And then you have to analyze the data and look for trends and look for similarities and things that coalesce, in terms of,
Right.
goal attainment later on.
Would the survey results already be in before that meeting, or would you be sharing the results? at
Well,
that
I
meeting?
think, in my opinion, I think we say the Tuesday after Martin Luther King, which is the 16th, we stop the survey.
Mhm.
And then we've got 2 weeks to compile the data.
Right.
Right.
And
so
we'll schedule ourselves a meeting probably like the 24th or something. So that way we can review that,
Right,
and then we're ready to hit the ground running on the 31st.
well, and that'll serve to market the 31st too and get people excited about it, you know,
Yeah,
because
that's
it's
where we'll run.
free
Yeah.
beer and
Share
chicken.
the results.
Yeah, well,
I don't think we do
Steve-
beer at the school, but.
Steve, were you talking about, are the results gonna be shared prior to the meeting?
Well, that was my question. Was it gonna be that or we're gonna share them
I
at
think
the
it should
meeting?
be before. Don't you think that would trigger interest? That, you know, it could get people fired up. Like, what do you mean they want to?
Yeah,
This is-
everybody, nobody cares about that.
Nobody cares about that. What do
Everybody
you
cares about that.
mean? I just,
Well, we could do that, if we get it on the 16th, we just have to look, in theory, the Highlander should come out either that Friday or the Friday after, so have to look at the schedule and the Bulldog and a couple of these other places we can dump it out to.
I also think you wanna be careful about dumping on information before the meeting, because then you bias.
I agree with that.
Yeah,
that's
there's
a
a plus or minus.
There is a plus or
Yeah,
minus.
that's a reasonable too.
I just think
Sharing-
if-
I think
Wanna hear
sharing
about
meetings is a
thoughts,
good
you want
idea.
bias.
Make people interested.
Well, I think the survey is general enough that it's just really like what topics
Mm.
interest you.
I haven't seen the draft of the
Yeah.
questions, so I'm not gonna weigh in on that.
Yeah,
You know,
Let's take some input.
Yeah.
It's good.
Did you get a
Yeah.
packet for this meeting?
It's right here.
Okay, is it in there?
I don't think-
No,
I don't think it made that.
Yeah, it is in there.
Oh,
I
it's in
think
the
it is
back.
in here, actually.
Yeah, it's in the back. I'll take a look at that survey and give you some feedback. Is there, do I send it to all of you? Is that my
Yeah.
feedback?
We're a collective group, there's no
Okay,
hierarchy.
okay.
When would we be launching the survey?
I'd like to launch it as soon as we get a blessing from Donna and get it out
I think
there.
it's some input.
Yeah.
Not inappropriately and what, because I don't think we talked about what we're gonna use to administer.
Personally, I would just use, I like the Google one, just because it's,
But that wouldn't
It's
work
easy
on
to
the
pull the
town
data.
website though, would it?
yeah, if it's a link,
It would?
it's just a link.
There's Survey Monkey too. That's what a lot of, you know, municipalities use.
Do you guys own a Survey Monkey account?
We have an account.
All right, perfect, then that's great, because that drills down pretty good. And then as long as it can export it out into Excel or something, then we can run our pivot tables and other
Right.
analysis.
Is that, did I hear that Rangeley does have a Survey Monkey account?
We
They
do,
Yeah.
Oh, okay, all right, good.
I know the intro on this for the survey, is that what you're talking about, Cindy? It's long. I find that it's really long.
You
Who wrote
think
that?
you think this draft is
This one here, I think we're looking at the same one. Maybe you can weigh in on that, Donna. There's a preamble on the survey that goes on forever. And I just know people's attention span now is just so short. I don't wanna lose someone before they get to the first question.
I think we can redact this down to a paragraph and a half, pretty easy. I haven't taken the editor's pen to it, but let's see what you come back with, Donna. Do you have this as a Word doc or anything?
Yeah, I have it, I have it at the end of the,
In
At the
editable form?
agenda.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the goal
I'm
of this
looking
here
at
is
it
to
right
kind of
now.
get the conversation going. And I don't think anyone's gonna take any offense if you come back and say, let's redact this, let's redact that.
No, not at all.
Start completely over. We just, our goal, I think, should be, is if we can get it up for, 2 weeks. Well, today's the 30th, so we meeting the 12th? If we meet the 12th, then if we went out on the 15th, then it would give it 30 days.
I like that.
So if we launched it on Friday, December 15th, and it would be,
I wouldn't wanna give it any more than 30 days. You're
no,
just
no, no,
saying-
and then it's just up on January, it ends on January 15th, and then the 16th, the data gets pulled, it gives us 8 days. It gives us a week to get it for the 23rd, and then 8 days after that will be the public hearing. I'm assuming we're gonna have a format anyways for the public hearing pretty much put together. But I'd be interested to see if something from the survey pops out that says, oh, maybe we should
Yeah.
The only thing I would question too is, in terms of formatting for Survey Monkey, there's a lot of open-ended questions here which have value, I get that, but I know that that's not how Survey Monkey works generally. You know, more it's like scalability, like how important is X to you on a scale of 1 to 5, that type of thing.
Well, I mean, you can change some of these. I mean,
Right.
do you believe the town of Rangeley is progressing in the right direction? 1 is not really,
Right.
2 is
That's
pretty
what
good.
I'm just saying for
Yeah.
formatting for
I,
Survey.
I agree, because
Yeah.
I think the more we can quantify it,
Click, 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 click,
at least we
click.
get that, and then we can always put what I call the catch basin, which is a question at the end to say, if we didn't address anything that you think is important, or if you have any further comments, please put them here, and then,
It definitely should close with a comment, yeah.
yeah, and I think that gives a paragraph for, if somebody wants to write us a novel, that they can.
Mhm.
But then we've got 8 or 10 questions that are quantifiable, see where we're going.
Yeah,
that
and
type of
they
thing.
do all the data compilation for you. I mean,
Yeah,
just press a button.
if you could quantify it properly.
Exactly,
So I think that's where it's gonna take. Yeah.
thanks, Don.
Is that a big task, Donna, on your end, or is that something you can?
Yeah, I'm just looking at it and that my initial reaction to it is it probably should be simplified. You know, like the current rate of growth, you can't stop the rate of growth. So I wouldn't ask the question that way. I would probably ask, you know, I would ask it more, it's not the rate of growth, because you can't stop people from coming there, but it's the pattern of growth or the type of growth, you know, it's,
Okay,
That's why you're here, Donna.
Right, for land use purposes, for sure, right,
Yep.
zoning, yeah.
all right,
yeah,
so,
yeah, and so let me take a look at this and get you some feedback on it. Maybe what I'll do is just copy it and give you some, you know, like in red or something, just give you some, you know, what I think about it. And there's certain things in the demographics that I would probably leave out, because you can, like, how, and I know it's important, you know, when you start looking at, do new residents think differently than other resident, you know, than longtime residents, but how important is that? And, you know, so you can really like narrow down the demographic information that you want. And so let me make some comments on this.
Donna, when do you think that you could, sorry, you'll learn I'm very direct, so, when do you think you could get us back your comments?
Well, I'm gonna have to do that this evening, because tomorrow I'm leaving on a quick little road trip, but you want to get this done. And by the time I get back to, I'm not in Maine right now. I'm in Connecticut, and I'm headed south tomorrow. So so I'll do it tonight, and then I'll get it to you, because otherwise it'll be the middle of next week before I get it, and I don't want to keep you waiting that long.
Well, I don't think we're gonna be able to review it as a group till the 12th. So unless, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, we've already reviewed this pretty well of what we thought was good stuff. So I think basically we're looking for your input so they can be put into Survey Monkey. So that's fine. If you've got time to do that tonight, I just hate to do that for anybody who's leaving on a trip.
I mean, we just had it next week.
Yeah, we're fine with next week if that works.
Oh, next week is
for you.
okay? All right.
Yeah,
We did have a week before our
I don't, we're not. There will be other times where we might push on a deadline, but I don't think
Not
this
first
one,
night.
not the first night. So,
All right.
if you could get us to us next week, and then Joe's
Sure.
our conduit. So if you send it to Joe, and then Joe will send it to all of us, and then we can come in on the 12th and
Have
it ready, and what would be great, Joe, is there anybody on your team that can take what Don has done and load it in the Survey Monkey? And then we can get a draft before it goes out. So if we need to tweak it, then it's really just updating Survey Monkey. Because I don't feel like anything Donna's gonna come back with, it's gonna knock me over, is not what we should use.
Right.
So I would rather if Donna, if you can get the draft to Joe, and then Joe will walk in, hopefully have it to us that Friday before the meeting. In Survey Monkey, what it's gonna look like, even if it's closed and just a mock sent to us.
Right.
And then that way we can walk in on the 12th, do the final tweaks, and then it can be published on the 15th. Is that an unreasonable deadline for anybody here for
No.
deliverables?
It's fine.
Okay. So let's do that. Donna, is there anything else you wanted to cover with us today?
No, so the other thing that I'm gonna get to you, when is the next meeting?
December.
Well.
The 12th of this, okay. Okay, so the next thing
Well, actually,
the
that
other,
screws up, doesn't it? Because we usually been going the first and the third. But we've been going every other week. I don't know. I guess school board that night.
The 12th, Chris.
Yeah. So if we do the 12th, I'd have to meet a lot earlier.
So, but would we start at 4 like we are now?
I start board meetings at 4, facilities at 4, finances at 5,
Okay.
board meetings 5:30.
Okay.
But we're usually done by 7, so if we wanted to go later, we could go later, or we could go earlier.
I go earlier.
That's fine.
Do you think
No
we're gonna need
golf.
more than,
No.
do you think we're gonna need more than an hour or an hour and a half? Should we start at 2:30? Does that work for
I'd
you?
have to look, I don't know.
I know, cause you've got kids.
Too many things.
It's 2:30, too early in the day for you?
That's not a problem.
It should be enough notice, I can rearrange if I'm. not
Wendy?
impressed.
That's fine.
You said
with me.
early is better. Cindy, does 2:30 too hard for you?
I
Just gonna check if you're closing or
yeah,
something.
let me just check ahead. That's a 2, yeah.
I
okay.
do like the 12th though, better than, I've got a big event on the
I've
5th.
got another meeting that day that actually starts at 2. I know I've got a conflict, but I think I can, I think that involves fewer people, so I can shift. That one. So you want to start at 2:30 on the 12th?
If that's possible. Just pull up,
okay,
let me just pull up my schedule here, hold on. Unfortunately, 2 calendars.
She's got 6 calendars working over here.
I try to keep it all on just a work calendar and
Fun time calendar.
no, everything else calendar. I've got a conflict that day till 4 o'clock. Banks scheduled me something.
So you're not gonna be here,
Yeah.
4 o'clock is.
Yeah, if you guys wanna do it without me, I'm okay.
Okay, so 4
Do you
o'clock.
wanna stick with 4 o'clock?
Are you okay not being here?
I'm fine.
Put your comments together for us.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have much to say. I mean, really, we're gonna walk out of there with the survey and maybe start working on the agenda for the. Yeah, cause I can't do the 5th.
All right, so we're back to,
4 o'clock.
4 o'clock on the 12th.
okay,
And if I don't have to be, if I get out of my other meeting in Skowhegan, I don't have to be at facilities, and I can be here for part of it. At 5 o'clock, I have to be at finance. Unless we have nothing to cover. So let's leave it 4 o'clock on the 12th then.
okay. And I will get, I'll get an outline for the public meeting for us to discuss on the 12th.
That would be fantastic.
I'll get that to you in
What's our
advance.
official committee now? We now CRC instead of CRIC?
Correct.
Okay.
We've got that on our email addresses, unfortunately.
Not mine.
No, that's right. Well,
Wendy was already using the.
That's my.
Cindy, is your
it's not
town
personal
email still
email, it's
active?
a business email.
no, it's not.
Joe, can you turn that back on for Cindy, your town email? Is that hard to do?
I'm fine with what,
All right, because we've been trying to get everybody to do it on some other email, so that
on
way
some
if
other,
if discovery happens, then you have,
oh, there, all
you know
right,
me.
okay, I can.
It's your call.
Okay,
If you want it on your personal, you can keep it on there. I just,
But we were doing Google too,
Yeah,
Gmail because of
Gmail.
the Google Doc share.
Right.
Right, so if you have a Gmail address,
Yeah, I'll create a separate Gmail for this particular group.
I just find it's helpful, but
I appreciate the info. I'll do that.
Donna, do you have the survey in a Word format?
She does.
You do?
I have it in a PDF, I think. A Word format would be much easier.
Oh, okay, I think.
Joe just sent it to you.
Oh, he did. Okay, all right. Thank you.
Okay, so right now, then the goal is middle to the end of next week, you'll send to Joe. Joe will update and for the meeting of the 12th, have it, send that out to us hopefully by the 8th,
Yep.
Joe?
Yep.
And that way I can at least look at it, even though I'm gonna be here on the 12th.
Oh, the survey, look at it at the 8th, on the 8th.
Well, 8th, have it sent to us and then discuss on the 12th and then publish on the 15th.
And you get to look at the survey on your road trip. It's gonna be great.
Yeah,
If you wanna
So
send us
excited.
notes tonight, that's fine too, but
all right. Well, if I don't have to, I won't. So,
There you go.
there you go.
Would it be, Mr. Chair, would it be of any value to compile all of the submissions for the task list
Right.
and get those to Donna? And we can assist with that if it would be helpful. If I can get all of those, I can get those into Google Doc.
Yeah, did you
That
do
would
the
help.
Google Doc for that?
No, I haven't done it yet.
No,
I've been remiss. I was gone.
it's
I
okay.
have plans.
No, it's okay. If it would
Okay.
be helpful, we can facilitate that here in the office.
To get that into the Google.
Yeah, get it, well, at least get it in one document, preferably Google, because I know that's what you want to use. And that way we can share. it with
You've
them.
got all the responses, or are you still loading those?
I don't know if I have them all. I think I do. I'll have to check.
Yeah,
I
if
don't
you've
know
got
they
them all,
went
then
to
I
you.
can upload it.
Yeah.
Once you've loaded that, I can put it into the sheets.
I haven't submitted the Board of Selectmen's, active step responses yet, but I mean, I can easily do it. And like I've told you before, I have time and I'm willing to do data input if you need the help.
Great, great. So why don't we load the core one into the sheets? You can load
Yeah,
it
and I can
up.
load it into Google Docs.
And then we'll save it. And then, so Donna, we chose Google Sheets as the way to do it so that multiple people can edit simultaneously.
okay.
As where we're gonna do the spreadsheet for the implement stuff. If you want to do that, Wendy, that would be fantastic.
Yeah.
So work
I'll
with Joe.
I'll
on it.
coordinate with you.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I mean, maybe it'll take a little pressure off the town people if it's too much work. I don't know.
No, we'll work it out. I just think.
It's
it would be-
Christmas party season, just say it, I'll squeeze you in.
I appreciate that. But I think it would be useful for Donna to see. I mean, you've all put so much work in it. I
Right.
think it'd be useful for her to see it. And I think it'd be useful for the public to see it too. But
Because
at this stage, certainly we want Donna to see it and kind of get a sense of, the progress that actually has been made, and then the holes that need to be filled in, so.
Yeah, I've got a few things left.
All right, well.
So Wendy, you wanna do the initial upload into Google Docs
I
and
can.
then share it to the addresses in the.
Yeah.
And then Cindy, you're gonna make a
I
separate.
just need
address?
to get
Yeah, I
the
will.
data.
I'll get that done.
So
Okay.
where would I get the data?
I think everybody was sending it to Chris. I'm not sure I have it all. I can check, but I would have to go
Let me check if I've got it.
scour the email to see.
I don't know
What are
if
you
I've
talking
got.
about, the results of surveying of people or talking to people?
Well, the updating of what we're doing on each section. Of
Right,
the-
right, okay, that's what.
So it's on our last agenda.
Yeah.
And it was,
Wendy sent her updated ones for the border for Wendy broke them into per group, which was great.
yeah, and Cindy, I can send you that word, it's an Excel spreadsheet that has tabs on the bottom. So I took the giant, long, actionable list
Yeah.
and broke it out into who was, the committees and departments that are responsible
Right.
for executing that. And each tab, that's how it's broken out, so that people weren't jumbling around with this huge sheet,
Yeah, that's
All right,
great.
so
Okay.
Wendy, this is the one, you're gonna load that into Google Docs and make that shareable to everybody's address.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Okay. All right, so that takes care of that.
Does the tab system work in Google Docs too?
Yeah,
Okay.
well, it's basically, it's sheets, each
Okay.
one's a sheet.
Okay,
It should do it. If you have problems with it, let me know, and then I
Alright.
can go tweak it once you share editing rights. You
gotcha,
just have to give each person in our group editing rights.
right,
And then we can set it that it can be viewed by anybody who has a link, they just can't edit.
got it.
Because we don't want everybody editing.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Well, you can undo everything, which works pretty well. I have one that I do with ski patrol for housing, it's actually, people do play nice, but it's different, comp plan's probably different, so. All right, and then we can afterwards, once that's done, then I can also go through and then from the tabs, re-pull back and build sheets that feed from the information change there and then reorganize it.
Yeah, you can have it
Back.
repopulate, and that's just a formula to collect it onto a.
Well, you can do it and then you can have it pull over into another sheet and then resort it. And it will update on on the editable sheets, we'll make certain sheets uneditable that are for presentation.
Perfect,
So that's more my,
I'll get it set up for it.
perfect.
know
You can
put
do
date
it.
in.
All right, so, okay, is there anything else you wanted to cover, Donna? We did the status report, did the project approach, we talked about next steps. Is there anything else that you had?
No, I think we've covered it all.
Okay, so we're gonna go through the rest of our stuff here, which isn't much.
We've covered most of it.
Yeah, we covered the old business and the task list. We just gotta do the review of the minutes. Accept Terry's resignation. I don't think we have to accept it, we said.
No, it's just a notification that the board of selectmen has already accepted it.
Yeah. Okay. And then we're gonna actually add, the next meeting is gonna be December 12th at 4 p.m. So anyone wanna make a motion to accept the minutes as previously provided,
There's a typo on there.
Okay.
Just, so you know, do you want me to?
as amended?
As amended, yes.
Okay, did you fix the typo? Where is
No,
it?
it's me, I was the one that wrote it, but it's the meeting date for the next meeting. I was typing over old minutes, so it says October 3rd, and this is the meeting of October 3rd.
Next meeting date,
We canceled it, so it was October something. Right,
It's a number.
it was October 20. It was October 24th. that we
all right,
canceled.
so that should just say October 24th. Motion to accept?
Second. All in favor?
I'll abstain since I wasn't here.
You don't have to, we'll accept it, okay? Motion carries, 4-1. Old business we've covered. Joe just covered new business. Any announcements, Joe?
None.
Okay. Next meeting we've scheduled, January 2nd, we're still on with the Board of Selectmen.
Correct. Just out of curiosity, what are we gonna do there? Is that
I think we'll just we're basically gonna give an update and say, you know, we've started this, we've got a survey going on.
Yeah.
We're doing a public hearing on the 31st. A lot of people do tune in or watch after the YouTube, like I did this past week of the select board meeting. Quite entertaining, actually.
Oh, yeah.
And so if it's just another, to me, it's another chance to advertise, and I believe Madam Chairwoman has asked for each committee to come in at least twice a year
Mhm.
and update. So we're more fulfilling our fiduciary duty to keep the board informed. I guess to save them having to watch all our board meetings, which makes sense. Okay, seeing any other business to bring forward at this time? We still have 20 minutes, folks.
Motion to adjourn?
Yeah, motion to adjourn, do I have a second?
Second?
All in favor? Okay.
Yeah.
Close
Bye,
at
everyone.
five,
Thanks,
Thank you.
Donna.
5:10
Oh, thanks,
p.m.
Donna.
Nice to meet y'all.
5:10 p.m.